Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be carving a mushroom using my new set of BeaverCraft knives. But now let's get into the carving. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to draw myself some guidelines on the piece of wood. I'm using a 1x1x4 piece of basswood. And I'm just going to mark out how big I want to do the mushroom. This can be any size that you want. I'm roughly doing probably about 1 inch for the top of the cap of the mushroom and maybe like 1.5 inches for the stem of the mushroom. I think something along those lines will work absolutely fine. So I'm going to start out with cutting out the underneath of the mushroom. Just going to start with a stop cut. I'm just starting on the corners of the wood to get myself started. It's always easier to start on these corners, so I'm doing each of the 4 corners and then I can gradually make my way into the middle of the piece of wood, just slowly removing the wood little by little until we've got more of a spherical shape around the underside of that mushroom cap. The key is to just take a little bit of wood off at a time as you go around, and you can just slightly chip away and not take too much off. You don't need to rush it. I'm really pleased with this knife so far. It's carving really nicely. So I'm using the roughing knife, which I got from the S15 starter chip carving and whittling knife set. It's a set that I got gifted from BeaverCraft recently, and I've actually done a unboxing of the whole set in the previous video on my channel, so definitely go and check that out if you're interested. I will also leave a link to the BeaverCraft website in my description along with the tools that I use. If you do purchase anything through that website, I will earn a small commission, and I just want to thank you in advance if you do. Thank you. So I'm going to continue to go all the way around the piece of wood for the stem, taking off a little bit at a time, and then I'll gradually come down the stem of the mushroom to start rounding out the base of where the stem will be as well. I'm just realizing how uneven I'm carving this. That's the great thing about mushrooms, is they ain't perfect. They ain't perfectly cylindrical. You can kind of get away with doing a bit of a wonky shape. So for all of these cuts at the moment, I've done that initial stop cut and then I've just been using a push cut for doing the stem, and it's exactly the same cut that I'm going to be doing for the cap of the mushroom as well. So I'll be doing a push cut. You can do a pairing cut as well. I do a pairing cut in a moment, but I find that a push cut, for me personally, I just prefer. But definitely if you're a beginner, make sure that you're wearing finger guards, hand gloves, because you will be carving towards yourself. So that is just for safety, and it's always good practice just to wear those gloves anyway. One thing to know is I've actually kept the length of the wood here. So like I marked out at the beginning, I'm probably going to be doing the mushroom stem about 1.5 inches long. I'm not going to do it the full length of the wood that I've got here, and that's just because I wanted a short mushroom, but to keep that extra bit of wood just gives you something to hold on to as you're carving, so your fingers can be out of the way. I often find that I get hand cramp trying to hold small pieces of wood that I'm carving, so giving yourself that extra bit of kind of handle on the wood really does help. And here, this is when I'm deciding to do a bit more of a pairing cut, so I have put on my thumb guard to just protect that, because I am going to be going towards my thumb. Here, just want to make sure that you're focusing on removing more wood at the top of the mushroom than at the base of the mushroom cap, just so it kind of tapers in to that dome on the top. I've realised that I've made the mushroom cap very domed and very rounded, and I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more pointy. So I'm going to go back in and reshape the top of the mushroom, and it's the same concept, just go around the top of the mushroom, taking a bit off. Don't focus on one side for a long time and then move to the other. It's good just to keep turning the piece of wood, carve off, turn, carve, turn, carve, turn, and then you'll get a more even shape around the mushroom. Now that I've defined the top of the mushroom, I'm going to go back in on the stem to just bring that in and just make it a bit more narrow. It's a bit too chunky for me at the moment. And again, like, you can make the mushroom whatever size that you want. So I'm just tidying up the bottom of the underside of that cap with the stop cut just to remove that wood there. Now I'm going in and defining the bottom point of the mushroom. So I'm just marking all four corners of the wood to give myself a guide, make sure they're all even. And then I'm going to do some cuts towards that line. And then cutting wise, this is just the exact same as when we did it for the underneath of the mushroom cap. I'm going to start at the corners, chipping away at it slowly and go around all four corners and then start joining those corners together and make it nice and rounded. I'm going to make sure that the base of the mushroom is wider than the part of the stem of the mushroom which is underneath the mushroom cap, just to give it a bit of more shape. I also want to make sure that it can still stand up and I don't do it too thin that it starts falling over. Now that I'm happy with that shape, I'm going to go back and tidy up and smooth out the main part of the stem, mainly where I've got some more flat edges. Just start rounding it off, and it is just little by little. Feel it with your fingers, see where there's places that you will need to take off more wood, and again, it's all personal preference, so do as much or as little as you want. With the mushroom, like again I said, it's an organic shape. It doesn't need to be like perfect as you would do something else that's recognizable, like a face or something like that. So this is a really good beginner friendly carving to do because it can be a bit more free flowing and it can be as unique as you want it to be. The next thing I'm going to do is just remove some of the wood from the underneath of the mushroom cap, and this is because before, when we were cutting into the underside of the mushroom to shape out the stem, it will just have some cut marks in the underside. So we just want to do a cut against the grain here just so we can clean up the bottom of the mushroom cap. And then when we've done that, we can move on to adding some texture on the underside of the mushroom cap. I'm not really sure of the technical terms of any part of the mushroom really, but these grooves, I'm using the BeaverCraft let me double check, S1202 gouge for the underside here, and it is a U gouge, and it just is perfect for this type of texture under the mushroom cap. You can do it with a knife, but I just find this is so much quicker, so much simpler to do this particular texture. So I will always gravitate to using a gouge like this. And there you have it, really good texture on the underneath of the mushroom using that gouge. Just going to take off the end of this block and just tidy it up a little bit. So there you have it, the finished mushroom. I've just tidied up that bottom edge after sawing it off the other piece of wood. But other than that, it's all done. And this took me about an hour to carve. And I feel it's a really good beginner project to start with. Get used to doing some of the different cuts, and don't worry too much about how it really looks. Just get a feel of the wood, your knives, and I would really love to see your carves. So if you've carved a mushroom or something else, tag me on Instagram at Limewood. I'd love to see what you've been carving. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.